in the different parts of the world, including Asian and the European continents. So we are really lucky this morning to have with us such an unfathomable a scholar of unfathomable faith like Professor Srivastava. I always keep in touch with him. He's genuinely a very great scholar and has done a very extensive work. So please now, sir, the floor is yours. Please you start.
प्रवीण सर आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया है प्लीज अपना माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए सर
हाँ हाँ अब तो हो गया ना हेलो
जी अब आपकी आवाज आ रही है ठीक है अभी
I have unmuted my mic. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Now please start.
Namo tassa arahato bhagavato samma sambuddhassa. Respected chairperson of this webinar, the Bhikkhu Sangha, Bhikkhuni Sangha, and all the dignitaries who have assembled here on the screen. I am thankful to Swami Vivekanand Subharti University Meerut and Department of Buddhist Studies, Samrat Ashoka Subharti School of Buddhist Studies, for inviting me to deliver a lecture on Buddhist, applied Buddhism. The topic of my lecture is toward rights of the trees and Buddhism. And today I shall like to explore two questions in Buddhist perspective. First, is it intelligible? If so, is it legitimate to ascribe right to non-human individuals? And secondly, or must all values be grounded ultimately in human interest and concerns? We find two types of views of these questions in the Western ethics and philosophy. Often it is argued that ascription of intrinsic value to non-human objects and activities are tantamount to admitting the non-human objects and agents into the moral community and allow such individuals to be the bearer of right. Passmore, a moral philosopher of the West, is of the opinion that idea of right is simply not applicable to non-humans. For him, to admit animals, plant, and landscapes into moral community would be to indulge in a mystical or pantheistic personification of the non-human world. However, there are good reasons for the preservation of wilderness, but these must be grounded in human interest and values. On the contrary, Aldo Leopold's, an environmental philosopher, argued that the boundaries of moral concern should be extended to embrace non-human individuals. He is of the opinion that land ethics simply enlarges the boundary of the moral community to include soil, water, plant, and animals, or collectively the land. It affirms their right to be continued existence in the natural state. Affirming the right of nature and natural entities, Richard and Wall Roltley opines that denial of such rights or rather the restriction of moral relationship to human concern, or exclusively to the relationship between human beings, is basic human chauvinism, which is unjustified and discriminatory of some specific class of individuals. For Rutley, intrinsic must be attached to the natural environment and must be preserved even if it involves conflict with the human interest. The reason is very simple. Flora, fauna, trees, and rare species are essential for maintaining the stable ecosystem, as vitamins are essential to diet, and their preservation is a must. Leopold goes one step further and says that species should be allowed to continue as a matter of biotic right. And in this backdrop, modern environmentalist in the back views, I would like to present Buddha's view here. Buddhism expects human beings to live in as man in nature, in contradiction to man versus nature. For Buddha, earth is the home for all living beings, whether it is man, animal, or vegetation. Hence, everyone has equal right to live peacefully, and this is the only world to live in, and any act of ours to mutilate should be an offense. Hence, to fell tree or any act of deforestation is an offense. Such is unwritten moral code of Buddhism. No one can escape from the consequences of good or evil deeds. In fact, Buddhism strictly believes in the law of karma. In its abstract form, the doctrine states, Asmin sat tad bhavati, Asmin upajja tad upajjati, that being is this, this comes to be. From arising that, this arises, that being absent, this is not, and from the cessation of that, this ceases to be. हाँ हेलो. अरे अच्छा कोई बात नहीं, आवाज आ रही है ना? अरे I am very much on the screen. Is my voice coming or not? My connections are okay.
You're audible, sir.
Now I am audible.
Yes, sir. All the time you were audible, sir. Loud and clear.
No, out of sudden he telephoned me that I am not being. Anyway, so I was telling that Pratitya Samutpada categorically says that being this, this comes to be, from arising that, this arises, that being absent, this is not, and from the cessation of this ceases to be. Hence, if trees are felled for any one selfish end, one has to face its consequences. Buddha has categorically said that felling trees or destroying the plants is the pachitya. This can very well be interpreted in any act of causing harm of trees or felling is a cognizable offense. Nature takes cognizance to it. This evil act is reviewed in the court of cosmic law, and proper punishment is given to the mankind for their acts of deforestation in form of ecological imbalance and disastrous results. It is thoroughly unwise to think that trees are rightless, as they are incapable to speak and they cannot institute a case, take a legal action, but it is not the case. Natural objects in general and trees in particular can communicate their wants or needs in unambiguous terms. One can judge with more certainty and meaningfully whether and when my lawn, farm, or plants need water. They express very explicitly through a certain dryness of blades and soils, as immediately obvious to the touch or by appearance of blade spots, yellowing, and lack of springs after being worked on. They tell the farmer their demand in a very strong language, and the farmers do meet their demand. Failing in it, they are liable to punishment in terms of poor harvesting and famine due to the drought. Hence, it is imperative of the man to understand the language of plant, take cognizance of it, and try to meet the demand of the trees, as the two are the right holders because they fulfill the first criterion. Secondly, Buddha did not discriminate between man, animal, plants, and tree. His loving kindness showered forth on each and everything and being of the world, whether it is man or trees. For him, all biotic beings, including trees and men, have the same origin, as they are made up of the common element Rupa Dhatu and Arupa Dhatu. They all have common basic character of form, warmness, and consciousness. Hence, they all must have equal rights. The only difference between man and the tree is the total personality of man is composed of Panchaskandha, Rupa, corporeality, Vedana, feeling, Sanya, perception, Sankhar, disposition, and Vijnana, consciousness. Whereas trees are composed of three skandhas only. They are Rupa, Vedana, Vijnana, skandha. Hence, plants and trees are qualitatively inferior to human beings. However, they may be put under the category of fetus, infants, and senile old men for all legal purposes and practical purposes, which are decidedly inferior to normal grown up man, since plants, tree, and men have common origin and are composed of the same elements Rupa and Arupa Dhatu. Plants and trees cannot be denied of their natural or legal right. Another point that needs to be made clear that man is qualitatively superior to plants and trees. Hence, it is their duty and responsibility to recognize and protect their rights, have good relationship with them, and plead or lodge complaint in the court of law if their rights are encroached. This is how tree will be considered as a substantial right holder in legal sense of the term. This is the reason that Buddha has personified the trees as he calls them Vanaspati, the Lord of the forest. This can be interpreted as a person in legal sense of the term that holds genuine right. Second question is whether in granting relief to the law court takes into the account the injury caused to the trees or not. The answer is apparently negative. Though the law provides protection to trees owned by individual, but trees at its own are denied rights in the second sense of the term, as it is not possible to decide the merit of the case as is done in the case of an individual who is competent and willing to establish it. It is a fact that we want to maintain balance, but any such balance that adjusted the economic interest can be done in the case of an indefinable human. For example, if a plant or tree of anyone's garden is cut or destroyed, then as per general rule, no one has the right to destroy the other's property. The court will appoint commissioner to inquire into the damage caused by the culprit. Although rule varies from place to place and one is suing for an equitable injunction or damage. What they all have in common is some sort of balancing. Thus, here is plaintiff's grievance is made for the mere private personal inconvenience. But what about the trees that are ownerless? How can inquiry be made and on whom on request, since the tree itself lost the sight in a quantitative compromise between the two conflicting interests. Hence, the matter for judicial cognizance does not arise on its own standing. Let us evaluate the second condition, under which trees are denied rights. In fact, for adjudicating the merit of present controversy, a good case can be made for considering the injury to the trees or forest in their own right. The court issues an injunction with the lawsuit wherein harm is caused to the communal trees and strikes some sort of economic hardship on the human being who causes such injuries, but such injunctions are sought through the guardians, trustee, or the department concerned, as senile human being, minor, or fetus are represented in the court of law. By doing so, we in effect made the natural objects through the guardian a jural entity competent to gather up these fragmented and otherwise unrepresented damaged claims and press them before the court, even where, for legal practical reasons, they are not going to be presented by traditional class action plaintiffs. This is, in fact, a homocentric way to view the guardian of trees or natural objects, similar to guardian or generation, in fact, infants and senile old men. But in doing so, two things have to be kept in the mind. The forest department is an adequate guardian only with respect to the national parks, forests, and plantation made by the department. The forest department itself is charged with several institutional goals that it may not do justice with the particular case. In such circumstances, the court appoints guardian outside the institution as protector of the communal trees within the existing legal structure. But their statutory powers are limited and often unclear. In such circumstances, the injury may not be calculated properly. Here, a question may arise: what do we want to the trees to be judged indirectly as a lost profit to someone else? Why not the trees are uh, important in the damage calculation? By making the trees or forests themselves the focus of these damages, the legal system can effectively take proof upon the confront the woodcutter with more representative measure of the damage he caused. Here again a question arises: how will the cost of damage be calculated? The answer will be the reference of fair market value of the tree. But what about the lost environmental value that are priceless? In that case, one possible way can be of instance of the human injury. When a man is injured in an accident with an automobile, the medical expenses is imposed on the responsible party, and if the man succumbs to the injury, the amount equivalent to 10 years of his salary is paid to the legal heir or the family members as the compensation. In the same way, the comparable expenses to the trees or forest is the cost of the injury. If the legal deforestation, if illegal deforestation is done for a personal gain, such damage computation will make with regard to environmental loss. In doing so, one is fully aware that it is fully normative judgment and such as pain and suffering, wherein rule of the society is taken into consideration while valuing the damage rather the market value. Such normative estimate will never be wrong, though it may ignore the immediate human interest. The estimate of damage should be our experience in environmental matter that tells us categorically that our activities have caused a long range damage that we are able to appreciate at the outset. The conjectural damage calculation in all events of injury to the trees or forest would be of most interest, of the more interest in form of socio-psychic point of view. During Buddha's time, such complications like damage calculation of nature or natural entity did not occur. The reason is simple, that the damage caused by the nature was so meager that nature could sustain it, and it was also repaired in the natural process. But it is again a fact that Buddha was aware of the human encroachment. Hence, he preached to extend loving kindness toward the plants and trees also. He expressed his compassionate and non-violent attitude towards vegetable kingdom that provides us all the necessities of the life. In Peitavattu, it is categorically said we should not break even the bark of a tree that gives us food and shelter. He has prescribed several rules that prohibits monks and laymen from causing harm to it. In Vinaya Pitaka, it is said one must not urinate, spit, or salivate on green grasses. In Sutta Nipat, it is said no one should throw waste food materials on green grass. In Digha Nikaya, under the heading of Majjhima Sila, Buddha has categorically asked not to cause harm or destroy seedlings, plant, or trees. Not only that, he has also asked not to cut the branches of a tree even for sapling purposes. Very many references are available that express the sense of protection of the plant against human encroachment. He imposed restraint over human beings from violating the right of trees. He wanted to nip this offense in the bud itself and maintain the balance in the environment. In order to compensate damage to the plant life, some rituals have also been developed in the Buddhist country, like Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Japan, and others. The Buddhist Korea, the Buddhists pay respect to Bodhi trees by pouring water into the foot of trees. In the time of drought, trees were kept alive by this practical ritual. The sole purpose of all these of Buddha and the ritual performed by the Buddhists is not only to protect the vegetable kingdom from the human encroachment, but also to make their redressal and maintain balance in a simple religious way instead of legal compensation. This also hints that trees have right to live in the lives of in the eyes of Buddha and Buddhism. The relief must run for the benefit of the right holders. In fact, trees do not fulfill the third condition in a strict sense of the term. Hence, the common law makes the tree rightless. Now, a question arises, who becomes the beneficiary in the favorable judgment? Obviously, trees are not. It is the individual who gets the benefit, and this makes a considerable difference. It's not the trees that counts in its own right. Let me explain this. If we speak of ascertaining the legal damage to the natural object, we mean here the total damage, that is, in sense of making it a whole, it includes various factors. If a forest is destroyed, this damage will include the cost of reseeding, repairing watershed, restoring wildlife, and destruction of trees. In short, the cost of the forest department calculated after fire. Now, what is important to note here that in our present legal system, even if the plaintiff, the forest department, or the guardian wins the suit for damage, no money goes to the benefit of the trees or the forest itself to repair its damage. Even if the damage is paid by the offender, it will be far less than the actual damage caused by the destroyer to desist. For example, it can be imagined a woodcutter whose wrongful activities causes damage to the forest of worth rupees 1 lakh annually, but aggregate of all the damage calculated by the court is said sue is only uh, 10 lakhs, 2 lakhs. Here the woodcutter is in gain. Now he would pay off the damage and continues to fell the trees for the benefit. And secondly, even if an injunction is sued by the court against the woodcutter at the behest of the plaintiff, there is nothing to stop the plaintiff from selling out the trees. Agreeing to resolve or make injunctions inoperative at some price. This is a fact, a contract between the guardian and the offender, and not between the woodcutter and the forest. What I want to make clear is that common law is effective in normal human case and not exactly the same as the law affecting the environmental object. Again, there is a difference between the national forest or the communal trees or on one hand and the trees as owned by the individuals on the other, the trees on the suburban lawn and the trees on the roadside. Here, one thing is very much clear that none of the natural objects, including trees, whether it is public property or private one, whether standing in the common place or situated in any individual's land, do not fulfill the third criteria of the right holder. Hence, they do not have a standing of their own right. Their unique damage do not count in determining the outcome. They are not beneficiary of awards. Trees have traditionally been regarded by common law the object for men to conquer and use. The measures that are being taken to conserve them are meant to conserve for us and for our own future generation. In other words, it is good for the greatest good for the greatest number of the human beings. In the light of our discussion, it seems proper to make trees the beneficiary of their own injury settlement claims and thereby include them in the club of right holders as per the third criterion it is concerned. By doing so, the interest of the private litigant do not enforce the right of the natural entity by selling them out in their conspired negotiation among themselves will be frustrated, and thus it will enable the trees for being a party to injunctive settlement for any sort of injury caused by the offender. Any more important things is that in this way they will become the beneficiary of the money award too. But the question is, who will receive the money? Obviously, it is the human being who is either the owner or the guardian of the tree. Now, there may be a question mark on making the balance of the injury to the tree. In such a situation, if court decides not to enjoin the woodcutter to extent of 1 lakh annually, then the owner of the trees of the forest both be awarded damage. The portion of the forest could be put in the trust fund, which will be operated by the guardians or owners. Not only that, the criminal fine slapped on the woodcutter should be sent to the same fund instead of general treasury. From this fund, the cost of filing the suit, advocate fee, guardian remuneration would be remitted, and above all, this fund should be utilized to maintain and preserve the forest standing for the tree on a communal land as well as for the reforestation. This will amount to make the trees, the environment, or natural entities legal right holders. Often it is argued that deforestation is made to meet the human needs, such as cultivation, construction of houses. Trees are cut for firewoods, furnitures, and meet other essential human needs without which the development is not possible. When we have to choose between the two alternatives, feeding the hungry and provide the shelter to the houseless mass on the one hand, and conserving the nature, forest, trees, etc. on the other, obviously one will choose the first one. This is a pure and simple ethical issue that put environmentalists on the conservation or the conservationists lists of nature on the defensive. But Buddha is very much clear in this connection. The Singhala Sutta says categorically, a householder should accumulate wealth like a honeybee that collects nectar from the flowers without hurting or causing harm to the flowers or the plants. Hence, nature has to be utilized in the same way. It is a well known fact that philosophers believe that world is continuous theater in which things, beings, and a species, eventually man, are destined to enter and exit. During their coexistence of man and the nature, man and the environment, man and the trees, each has to compromise for the good of the both. Some example of deforestation or felling the trees may probably be inevitable for some time, but this should occur in those instances where the social need of a tribal or habitable land or wood and wood products is so high that enables the presence persons encroaching the right of the tree to cover the homocentric costs plus estimated cost of the environment per se, and this money should be deposited in the trust fund. Secondly, the trust fund should be a corpus of preserving the money which can be utilized for repairing the damaged portion of the orchard or the forest or the environment because it becomes technologically feasible. And such funds may also be utilized for financing the research and development of environment and forest or trees in particular. In this background, if we cast our glance over the Tripitakas, we find that although there is no reference of any system wherein provisions are made that relief of an injury must run to the benefit of the trees, however, the instructions are very much clear about the mode of maintaining the balance with respect to the injury caused to the plants or trees in an indirect way. Buddha has given a clear cut instruction to lay devotees for plantation, constructions of park and pleasure groves, as he was aware of the fact that man for his need and greed causes injury to the nature and the natural entities. He keeps felling the trees to meet his end, since he was not in position to enforce rules or act for the legal compensation. He declared such acts and are pious from the religious and ethical point of view. There are great deed and preach spiritual merit. According to the Buddhist legend, even Buddha is said to have reached to this position as a result of construction of parks, pleasure groves, ponds, as well as roads, wells, and conserving the and protecting the trees and making plantation in his previous life. So far as the question of trusteeship is concerned, Buddhism believes that humans do not own the land, rather, its protectors. The creation is intended for the benefit of all equals, even the birds, the trees, and the humans. The nature do not belong to human alone. The individual is just an enjoyer in that sense. Buddhism is per se, humanism per se, par excellence. It is the duty of the human beings to take care and share it. Since man makes use of the trees and plants for the personal benefit, it is the duty to expend some portion of his earning on the benefit of these natural entities. Buddha has categorically said in Sigalovada Sutta, man should divide his earned wealth into four equal portions. Two portions should be used for him and household works. One person should be spent for the life of friendly things trees, plant, and other natural entities, and one portion should be kept reserved for the crisis management. This has got a radical similarity with the above mentioned modern thought of Christopher D. Stone, who has suggested for a creation of trust fund and corpus and to be utilized for the guardian advocate court fee as well as for the maintenance of the forest orchard and standings of the tree on communal lands. This is a brute fact that Buddha was neither a ruler nor his preachings were meant to guide the rulers of his time with regard to the matter of crime and punishment. He was a human healer to utilize his instruction in formation of laws, rules, and act is although very difficult but not impossible because perpetual work is in progress. It is evanescent, dynamic, productive, tantalizing, and bottom up. It has emerged out of custom, ritual, and rules of the tribe. He has used it has used the materials for its formation from religion, ethics, and philosophy, the sacred texts, and the preachings of the great seers has been the source of book for formulating the acts, and that is why the law of the land varies from culture to culture, place to place, time to time. It is also climatic effect, ethics, religion, and philosophy of the land do influence it. It can be said that law is the rhetorical activity that can only be properly appreciated in its historical and political context. Custom, tradition, and transformation are locked in a mutual reinforcing but thoroughly contingent imbalance. Like the law too is an organic process. Events are product of localized cause. It is not a miraculous one. Events are the result of some grand plan of intervention. This is the reason that of the different countries have different, and they have taken into account their sacred scriptures in their formation. For example, the Muslim law has utilized Quran as a immediate source, and Hindu law has translated Mitakshara and Dayabhag rules of Hindu tradition. If we give a perusal of the criminal law of any country, it will reveal the religious moral code of conduct have taken a shape of rule, laws, and penal acts. For example, violation of ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha have been considered punishable in the eyes of law, and there are acts relating to them. The religious directives have converted into the principles and acts of constitution. In the same way, if Buddha's teaching and preaching is interpreted, analyzed, utilized, and applied in the environmental cases, law regarding the rights of trees may emerge. Though such laws are taking shape or have been enacted in several countries of the world. Hence, there is a possibility to frame out the environmental laws from the antiquity of Buddhist religion and ethics that may provide protection to the true trees as their right. Thank you very much for the patient listening in. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam. Thank you very much.
Dr. Praveen, you want to say some words? Few words? Any student who want to ask questions to Avinash, Dr. Avinash Sriwastav, he or she can ask. This is really such a wonderful lecture. No questions?
Ma'am, I think you can go forward with the vote of thanks. And
Okay.
if anybody would be having any questions, they can tell Dr. Praveen, and we can reach out to Dr. Avinash again.
This would be better. Yes, really, because firstly and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Avinash Sriwastav, former professor of philosophy, Magad University. Sir, we are really, I have no words. This was really such a wonderful lecture from your side. And, this is really a different thing. This is very pleasing to listen that trees also have rights. For me, this was a really new concept. And, as all of us we know, as far as I know, Buddha's whole life, rounded around the trees. Then he took birth, his mother was passing through the Lumbini one, and she took birth in a probably in a mango grove. This was, and her mother hold a tree branch of teak wood, teak tree. It was a teak tree. I heard it somewhere. I read it somewhere. And when he was just about to die, then it has like believed that he was suffering from some food poisoning, and he was like about to die. He again went under the lay down under the tree, and this was like the sal tree. So all of his life, his parinibbana, again, we know very well that he took parinibbana under the tree. Sorry, he took enlightenment under the tree of Bodhi tree. So his whole life was rounded, around the trees. So we can understand that how important role play tree in his life also. And so the he understood the value of trees, and for the humanity, for this art also. So this was really very sir, the I have no words to say that how wonderful your lecture was. It was very fruitful, and definitely we all are very much we understand a lot of things, we learn a lot of things from your lecture. And I'm again thankful to all my faculty members. Dr. Praveen, I'm very much thankful to you because you suggest us the name of Dr. Avinash Sriwastav, and my all faculty members and all those students who are listening, who are getting such a different knowledge from you. So again, sir, I'm very thankful to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, koi aur remark, if you want to give anything to us, any other?
Any question? I shall be happy to answer you all. I think one thing might be emerging in your mind, that
Yes.
how this ethical and jural range is increasing.
Yes.
Uh, when you happen to see the history, if you give a glance of the Western history, particularly when Odysseus, 3,000 years ago, when Odysseus came from the Triovar, do you know what did he do? He hanged all the slave girls on the rope. And the slaves were not considered to be a human entity. They were sold, purchased, and whatever you do, they are they were not coming into the legal jurisdiction. 50 or 60 years ago, in the American High Court, one lady was denied to deliver her argument only because she was a woman. Now the things are being changed. Women and trees are getting their rights also. And for your information, even Buddha's time, the slaves and soldiers didn't have the right, even the loonies. When the soldiers are started to come to the Buddhist Sangha and said, I want to get Prabhajya, and it was objected by the king of the time, Ajat Shatru. Buddha said, soldiers will not be given Prabhajya. When the loonies came and wanted to take shelter in the Sangha, and on the objection of the strong objection of the uh, king, Buddha said, the loonies will not be given Prabhajya. And same with the slaves. So he was far sighted person. And that's why he has spoken a lot for man as well as for the environment for the natural entities and which are coming faster into the existence. And that's why the trees are also been given the right to be judged in the judicial sense of the term. Thank you
Yes.
very much for the
Thank you, sir. We all of us we know that Buddha have a scientific approach also about so many,
Yeah.
which he was watching around him. And next time we will definitely go through the rights about slaves and the as you discuss about him. So thank you so much again, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And if we have any query, we will post a message to Dr. Praveen, and he will post these queries to you, sir. Also, thanks. Thank you so much, sir. Once again.
Praveen ji, unmute yourself. Praveen ji, unmute yourself while speaking.
Hello, sir. I want to know clearly more how.
Unmute yourself, ma'am. Thank Pama. Kindly unmute yourself.
Panti, are you listening?
Both are not unmuting.
Yes, now Dr. I think his laptop is doing some trouble. I think.
Ma'am, his internet got disconnected.
Okay, that's why.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So he just reached out to me. He's saying that he will give a personal call to Professor Avinash,
Okay. Thank you so
thanking
much.
him because his internet got disconnected. I
Hello,
think
hello,
we should wind up right.
hello.
Dr. Alok is saying something. Yes, Alok ji, please.
Dr. Praveen ji asked something. No, sir. Yeah.
Dr. Alok, you have two connections near around you, so that's why it is echoing. So if you can come to a different space so that we can hear you clearly. Dr. Alok, please unmute yourself and then talk. Srinivasan ji, you can also unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask a query to Professor Avinash?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Professor Avinash. I just listened to your wonderful, topic
Good
relating
morning.
to the
Good morning,
trees by
sir.
Buddha. Sir? Hello?
I'm
Am I
really
audible?
pleasant surprise for me to listen, to see you on the screen.
Yeah, because I was just got the link, so I thought I can just participate in the philosophy discussion because I am keen in that. And the interesting question which I just wanted to, I would say it's a clarification that what is the connection between Sri Krishna's declaration in Srimad Bhagavad Gita about among the trees I like Ashwatha. Among the Gandharvas I like only the Narada, and among the Munis I like Kapila Muni. Like that it goes. But then he specifically mentions about the Ashwatha tree. What is the connection between the Ashwatha tree and Buddha's declaration on loving for trees? Because he spoke many things about ethics, morality, silence, meditation, dukkha, and eightfold path, etc. But in this instant, I would like to clarify, get myself clarified, whether is there any connection between this, pricing about the trees and the environment at a glance, please.
Thank you for a nice question, because all the religions of the world, particularly in India, and all the religions in general of the world, they know the utility of the plants, the environment, and all these things, and don't they know it well that without them we cannot stay on this environment, and we are facing a lot of problem, because a human being is also a member of the ecology. Biotic and abiotic, both are the things are there. So as I have already narrated in my lecture, that plants as well as the human beings are made up of three dhatus, and when we have the same origin. Hence, whether it is Krishna or it is Buddha, both have to realize all these things, and that's why they have said that Ashwatha and all these the plants are essential for the life, because it is they who not only feeds us but also gives us oxygen. They give us so many things to survive in this world in a proper way. So all the religions of the world, they respect the trees, they know the value of the trees, and without trees, they know it well that we cannot survive uh, for a second even. And you know,
Okay.
the deforestation have caused very heavily on the humankind, and that's why we are the severe things are taking place, the ailment, the disasters, the tsunami, and so many things, climatic change. These are only because of the deforestation. Now the
Oh,
time has come, if we go, because if you happen to see the civilization of the world, you will find that the civilizational march starts from the lush green forest, and it is going to the juiciless jungle of concrete. So,
okay.
in this jungle of concrete, you will have some problems. For that, there must be balance for all these things. And this is the reason, whether it is Krishna or the Buddha, they will have to speak in the same chant. Thank you, sir,
Okay.
for the nice
Thank you.
question.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much, sir, once again. And we are formally closing this session now. And in future, we will definitely get benefited again from your wonderful lecture. Thank you so much, sir. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you
Namaste.
so much for inviting.
Okay, sir.